The Marble Machine 3 is taking shape. This is a placeholder sketch that I did to kind of just mark out the entire machine with all its necessary parts. We have the instruments, the marble funnels, and then we have the dual conveyor belts that lifts the marbles up. We have the marble tracks leading the marbles down to these green marble gates. And the marble gates are controlled by these Bowden cables that are reading the single mega programming wheel. And the programming wheel is rotated by this power input system. This placeholder sketch is actually resembling Andrew's Marble Machine 3 sketch pretty much. And I did it to sort my thoughts around one thing. How should the Marble Machine 3 be powered? I'm choosing between three options, and the first option is a manual hand crank. The second option is a manual foot-pedaled power input. And the third option is a Huygen weight drive. To further help me make this decision, I have updated our old roadmap. My old Marble Machine roadmap used to look like this. So I have turned this roadmap into this roadmap. And this is a great visualization and might explain to some of you why I'm doing certain things in this project in a specific order. I'm starting with step 1, which is timing, and then I'm continuing upwards with step 2, which is sound, step 3, features, step 4, CAD design, and step 5, assembly. Doing these 5 steps in the correct order is crucial to the success of Marble Machine 3. Do you want to take a guess at which step in the pyramid I started with the original Marble Machine? Yes, I started at the very top with assembly from day 1. But then with the Marble Machine X, I did much better, right? Yeah, a little bit better. I started at step 4. I started with CAD design. Perfect. The entire design process for both my previous Marble Machines came out of one single thing: inspiration. I didn't ask myself what exactly should a machine actually be able to do, and we all know what happened.
You lose.
And what I've been doing this whole year is to try to wrap my head around a more rigorous design process. Can we base our design process on something more rigorous than just inspiration? And a big part of that work is to introduce design requirements. For step 1, timing, the design requirement is that the machine must play tight music. And this design requirement is non-negotiable, meaning if the machine can't achieve this, the project has failed. So this view is my actual to-do list on the roadmap. And if we look closer into step 1, we can see the work I have been doing the last year to achieve the design requirements to play tight music. We start at the left with power input, and we're choosing between the manual hand crank, manual foot pedal, and the Huygen weight drive. And then we follow the mechanical chain to the right. Then we come to the power transfer. And there I'm choosing between toothed gearing or belts, or multi-rib flat V-belts. The power transfer goes into the program, and there I'm choosing between the single mega wheel or the triple wheel, 1 wheel per instrument group. The programming pins, which I've already solved, these are the profiles that I figured out with 3D printing, and I really believe in them, so I've already opted in for that option. Then we have the reader. I have kind of the reader already figured out as well. And the reader goes into the link, and I've done some experimentation with shorter Bowden cables, and I know that works. But with the new layout of the Marble Machine 3, if we have a single mega wheel, we actually need longer curved Bowden cables. And I need to do experimentation to make sure that these longer Bowden cables doesn't affect the timing. And the link then goes to the marble gate. And as you have seen earlier in this series, I've done extensive development and research and come up with a marble gate that has 0 millisecond standard deviation in timing accuracy. If we zoom out and look at the entire image again, all the green highlighted parts are pretty much already decided. The orange ones are under testing or decision making. When I have a full chain in this section with green everywhere, then I'm done with step 1 on the Marble Machine 3. Let's look at all the rest of the design requirements for the following steps. For step 2, sound, the machine must sound good. For step 3, features, the machine should play dynamic music. For step 4, CAD design, the machine must be reliable, repairable, and transportable. For the top step, assembly, I want to minimize manual processes. We have to address the elephant in the room here. A great design requirement should be properly defined. So a design requirement like must play tight music, what do I actually mean with that? Okay, let's go into that. And here we bump up to a sad fact for all the engineers who want to measure absolutely everything. I'm doing an art project, so here's my best effort of defining this design requirement. What is tight? Marble Machine 3 is playing tight when it plays tight enough to make Martin excited to make music with the machine. It's just a feeling I know when we're there. And I know there's a risk in moving the goalposts, etc. But music is subjective and our definition of tight is therefore subjective. And it's the same with what is sound good. Marble Machine 3 is sounding good when it sounds good enough to make Martin excited to make music with the machine. Dynamic music, the same when the music makes me excited. But step 4, what is reliable, repairable, and transportable? This is different. This is actually measurable. These requirements can be defined. I haven't defined them yet, but it will definitely be helpful to define them in the initial stages of step 4. And this is also true for step 5. The manual processes, I think also we can define and measure. So I think I can measure all the requirements regarding the mechanics, but the requirements regarding the art, I think it's only always going to be feeling. So I know these theoretical videos are a little bit more heavy and maybe not so entertaining and fun as the practical videos, but there's going to be more and more practical videos as we move up in this beautiful pyramid, I promise you. And if you think this is all overkill, let me just tell you that I'm scared out of my own skull for failing again. It was really, really painful to fail with the first machine. It was 10 times as painful to fail with the Marble Machine X, and I refuse to make the same mistake again, to start at step 4 in the pyramid and omit these crucial first stages. So let's answer the question from the beginning of this video. How should Marble Machine 3 be powered? I'm choosing between the hand crank or the foot pedal or the Huygen weight drive. And between the hand crank and the foot pedal, I think the choice is pretty simple. With the foot pedal, I have a whole hand over to play music with. And I also suspect that I get more power out of my leg muscles, putting my whole body weight on top of the pedal. And I know from the first machine that kind of cranking a hand crank and playing music at the same time is not really ergonomical. Stomping the beat on the floor pedal feels better. I feel I can exclude the hand crank for all these reasons, and the choice is now between the foot pedal and the Huygen weight drive. The biggest difference with the foot pedal is that I would set the tempo of the music manually and the pedal would go in time with the music. With a Huygen weight drive, on the other hand, I would still need to pedal, but only to keep the weight stationary mid-air. So I would always pedal at the same time. And we would fix the music tempos with gearing after the weight drive. I think it could be pretty difficult and a little bit unnatural for me to pedal in one tempo and the music is in a completely different tempo. I think I could learn it, but it's a little bit unnatural. So music tight-wise, I'm really sure that the weight drive would play perfectly tight music, so it's awesome for me to have this option. The pedal drive, I'm not 100% sure it will be able to play as tight music as I need, but I'm also not convinced that it couldn't do the task. So I'm gonna put down that the pedal can maybe play tight music. Another good thing with the weight drive is that we don't need toothed gearing anywhere in the machine. We can use multi-rib flat V-belts everywhere, and we have no issues with toothed belts or gears. To make the pedal go tight with the music, we need toothed gearing or toothed belts. And I'm gonna put one more. I'm going to put communication with the audience during a live show. Let's say I'm at an arena with 4,000 people that are going crazy during the concert. Let's say we're playing one of the hits from the new album, and let's say they want to hear the chorus again. and let's say I get a feeling and I pump a little bit harder on the pedal and the tempo goes up just a little bit, I can take the energy from the room and I can insert it into the marble machine music. I actually discussed this choice with my dear friend Barnaby Dixon in a phone call the other day. Barnaby said that, yeah, if you can take the energy of the room and actually have it go somewhere to put it back into the music, that's a pretty big pro for the manual pedal. And if we contrast that to a weight drive, the machine is maybe at risk to become one of these boring mechanical music instruments that feels more like a self-playing piano. If it's actually up to me to set the tempo for the song with my body, there's some real artistic value in that. So, by the way, talking about Barnaby Dixon, Barnaby released the first video yesterday in a brand new video series where he's going to resurrect Dabchick, one of his most famous characters. And the process he's using is really, really interesting. It's a similar mix between art and engineering, as you can see on this channel. So I highly recommend all the engineers here to check out Barnaby's new series. I'll leave links below to the first episode. I'm sure most of you are going to love this series. Another bad thing for the weight drive is that it adds a lot of parts. All these parts that I'm marking here can be completely taken out of the design if we're doing the manual foot pedal. So after seeing me being completely in love with the weight drive idea the last two videos, I've actually made the decision that I should continue with the assumptions that we're not going to use a weight drive, that we're actually going to use the manual foot pedal, and I'm going to investigate how tight music I can play with a simpler system first. If it turns out that a manual foot pedal can play tight music, great. But I'm also taking a lot of comfort from the fact that if the manual foot pedal doesn't work out in the prototype, we can fall back on the Huygen weight drive solution and still make a Marble Machine 3 that plays tighter music than anyone of you can ever dream of. So yeah, I think it's really a responsible decision I'm making here to at least examine if we can get by with a much simpler, less complex solution first and only go for the nuclear option if we absolutely need to. My next step will be to simplify the power input module and make it into a clean prototype. So I'm going to build hopefully in August in Germany. So that's my next task. I recorded this whole video while having fever. I really wanted to share all these latest thoughts with you. I don't know if all this makes sense to you at home, but for me personally, it feels that I'm slowly wrapping my head around this entire project. I'm wrestling it down on the mat. I have a better grip and the referee has started counting.